So my name is Sarah Pattison. I work in the Department of Technology Enhanced Learning here in MTU. And this afternoon session is on teaching and learning productivity hacks using Canvas, Zoom, and Microsoft apps. So let's get into it. So just to start off, so there'll be hacks, basically kind of like new features you might not have heard of, or just things that you can do in Canvas and Zoom that you might not know about. And for Microsoft apps, I'm going to focus on one Microsoft app called Microsoft To Do and show you a little bit of that. And then I'll talk about help and supports. So then after this session, especially if you weren't able to make the session, I'll be sending out the recording after, and I'll be sending out links to any help articles related to the stuff that I'm talking about today after the session, probably in the next day or two as well. So we'll start off with Canvas project productivity hacks. So this is rather than it being an overall view of what Canvas is, it's more hacks to do with Canvas. But if you are interested in learning about, an overview of Canvas and how to use Canvas, we do have videos on our YouTube channel that you can go to. I think we also have some upcoming training on that if you're interested. So just keep an eye on your emails for that. But yeah, for the productivity hacks, these are the ones I'm going to go over today. So I'll start with the Canvas MTU calendar. So in Canvas, there's a calendar, but we also have the MTU calendar, and I'll show you what that is. It basically shows you what week you're in the semester. Then I'm going to show you publishing features. So in the last year, the publishing features in Canvas have changed a little bit. So I'll show you that, and it's a really handy new way of doing it. I'll show you Control K, so where you can insert links anywhere really quickly. I'll show you page revision history. Now, this isn't really a new feature, but it might not be something that you're not aware of, and it's very handy to be able to revert to different versions of a page. Also, the undelete function is probably a lifesaver for some people. I'll show you that if you haven't had experience in using it. And then finally, for Canvas, I'll go over bookable Zoom meeting slots in Canvas. So that's where you can book in one-to-ones with students through the Zoom integration in Canvas and then launch them from there rather than having to do it outside Canvas. So in order to show you all this, I'll actually go into Canvas. So I'm just going to open the window here, and we'll start off with the calendar one. So let me just move this out of the way. Right, so Canvas MTU calendar. So as you can see here, um, I have the Canvas calendar open, and you just get to it by clicking calendar when you're open Canvas. And this, as you might have experience with, is where you'd have upcoming assignments and assessments would come up on here, and any other things that have dates towards them, and your students would be able to see them too. And we do suggest that you turn the calendar on for each of your modules so you can keep an eye on those things and that your students do the same. But what I just wanted to point out was a new thing that we've turned on for all Canvas accounts, students and staff, which is the Munster Technology and University calendar. So it might not be turned on for you if you don't go into your calendar, but how you turn it on is just clicking this little box here. And if you don't want to see it, you can also clear the box. But basically what it is, it'll show you what week we're in. So as we know, next week is week one. So it shows the days that next week is week one. It has week two, week three, and I'll move on. You can see it has all of the weeks of the semester, and it has the midterm break in there and everything. And it's just really handy to know where you are in the semester. And then maybe if you had an assignment on a certain day, you'd see, oh, that's during week four or whatever week you have it. So that's worth knowing that you can have that turned on if you want, and your students can do the same, and they can see where they are in the semester as well. So that's the calendar. I'm going to move on now to the publishing features. So I'm just going to open, this is a test module that we have here in TEL that we use just for training. So I'll show you how the publishing feature works on here. So you might have seen it before, but previously, before the past year or so, what you had to do to publish content in Canvas is do it individually. So rather than being able to do everything at once, you had to individually publish content like this. and unpublish it. But now, and the same with units. And as you probably know, units have to be published as well as the content in the unit for your students to be able to see it. So something that they've added to Canvas in the past year or so is being able to do this quickly by this drop-down button. So you see the drop-down button on the unit, you just click on that, and then you can choose from these three options. So you can publish unit and all items. You can publish the unit only. So if I publish unit only, it publishes the unit, but then your students still can't see it. I can unpublish unit and all items, and that's much quicker than doing it individually like you used to have to be able to do. And if I just click publish unit and all items, it'll do the same. And I'm just going to unpublish them again. And one thing to note is that it doesn't, the unpublishing, you have to go in individually on files, I think because it's all still published in the files section here. So that's just something to note. You will have to individually do that there. But also you can do it on the whole module if you want to. So at the top of your module, there'll be a publish all button here. You can publish all your units, publish the units, so the units but not the content in the units, or unpublish all units and items as well. So that's a big time saver basically. I'm just going to publish everything now and then move on to the next hack. So everything's published. So now I'm going to show you the insert links anywhere, the Control K feature. So if I open in this page, and you'll see I've been testing it out in the last day or so, and then I'm going to click Edit. And basically Control K there, it's the Control key on your keyboard and the K key. So you're pressing the Control key and then the K key on your keyboard, and then you can insert a link. And this can be done anywhere on Canvas that has the rich content editor. So that's basically your pages, discussion boards, announcements, those kind of places. That's where you can do it. So I'm going to just go Control K, and then I'm going to add in a link. So I'll just say MTU, and I'm going to go www.mtu.ie. Done, and I've added the link, and it's just quicker than the alternative, which is where you have to click on a link, go external link, and it'll bring you there. You can just go Control K. It's just quicker. So then next, I'll just save that page and show you the page revision history. So for page revision history, basically, if you want to see the history of all the edits that were made on a page, and maybe you want to revert back to how a page was before, all you have to do is when you're on the page like this, click the options button here, and you can click view page history. I'm going to click that, and you can see because I've been testing this and practicing the training in the last few days, you can see I have a lot of edits. So if you just click on one of the, it's basically every time you save, you can revert back to. So I can go back and I can click restore this version, and I can go back to that version basically. So that's handy. So if you click that and then you click restore, and then now it's saved as that version. But you can still go back to all the other versions as well and restore them if you want. So I'm just going to go back to the units now. And the next thing I want to show is the undelete function. So the undelete function is where if you accidentally delete a file off Canvas and then you realize that you've done it and you need to get the file back, there's a way to get it back with the undelete function. So if you remove something from a unit, it doesn't actually delete it. So it's just to note, when you do this, you're not actually deleting the file. So all you have to do to add that back is press the plus and the file, and it is still there. But you might accidentally properly delete it from the unit. So what you do, like in files, if you delete it from files, then it is more deleted, if you get me. So I'm going to delete it from there, and you'll notice it says delete and not remove. So I've deleted the file, and then I realize, oh dear, I didn't mean to delete that. I need to get it back. So all you have to do for that is just remove the files part of the URL of your unit and type in undelete instead at the end. and click enter. And you'll see there's loads of stuff here because we use this module for training and testing. We have deleted and restored things over the time, but you can just scroll through and find the thing that you accidentally deleted. And mine should be down here. Yeah, I think it's in some alphabetical order or something. And then just click restore, click OK, and then you get your file back. So that's really good in case you've ever accidentally deleted something. That's good that you can get it back. I would suggest that you do it as soon as you realize, and the sooner the better, just in case, because I think there are limits to how much that they can store, but it's good that you have that option if you accidentally delete something. And then if I just go back into my units, I'll show you that I can add it again. So file, yeah, it's back there, it's undeleted, and I have the file again, so that's handy. So the last hack that I'm going to show you for Canvas, which actually relates to Zoom as well, and will get us into the Zoom section after this, is bookable Zoom meeting slots in the Canvas integration. So if I click Zoom here, so you know that you can do Zoom meetings and Zoom classes with your class, schedule them here, and people can join them. But you can also do meeting slots where you can have one-to-ones with your students. So if you have office hours where you want students to be able to book a slot with you to talk about an assignment or a project or something, you can do that really easy in the Zoom integration in Canvas. And then they can really easily just click on Zoom and click on appointments and book a slot with you. So to do that, you just click this is a new feature, by the way. I think it's only in the last year or so that you can do this, but you just click the appointments tab on the Zoom tab. And I'm going to delete this one because it's just one I tested earlier. But basically, you're clicking create schedule, and then it'll come up in your upcoming events. So if I click create schedule here, I can make a schedule where I'm available. So if I'm a lecturer and I'm available every Wednesday and Thursday between 2 and 4 o'clock for 15-minute slots, I can put that in here as my schedule. So I'm just going to put that in as, say, every Wednesday and Thursday. So if I say 2 p.m., yeah, and then to 4 p.m., and then do the same for Thursdays, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. And then you can do it where it's a once off, or you can have it repeat every week for this semester. So you could click end repeat on and then select a date. So I'm just going to, for the example, say it ends on March 14th, and then it'll repeat up until that date. You can choose the duration. Now there are only 4 options: 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or 60 minutes. So you just choose one of those options. So let's say we want to have 15-minute meetings with your students that they can talk to you about an assignment or whatever it is. And then you give it an event name. So I'm just going to call it office hours. And then you can give it a description if you want, and then click create. And I'll also show you how this looks to a student. So if I just go back home, and you can do the same thing when you set yours up, and click student view. And then if a student clicks on the Zoom tab, they also need to click on the appointments tab. They'll see the office hours that I just set up, and they can see all the slots that they can book. So when they click on a slot that they want to book, they just click book. And because I'm a test thing, it's not going to go through, but basically they'll click book, and then that'll come up in the upcoming events for both the student and you. And then you can just open the Zoom meeting from in here and have the meeting with your student. So that's really handy for things like office hours. I'm going to leave that and go back into our presentation. Let me just move that, and I see that there is a Q&A question, but I will get to questions at the end if that's okay. So I'm just moving on to Zoom productivity hacks now that we've talked a little bit about Zoom. And the first thing actually that I say to everyone when talking about Zoom is really important is to check that you have the most up-to-date version of Zoom. And I think most Zoom clients do automatically update, but if for whatever reason it might not have updated, it's worth checking. So you just open your Zoom client and then click on your little icon at the top right and then check for updates just to make sure your Zoom is up to date, because a lot of the things I'm going to be talking about are quite new, so they might not be in your version of Zoom if you have an older version. So I'll just tell you what I'm going to cover with that. So there's scheduling Zoom meetings with registration. So that could be maybe you're running an event, especially if maybe you want to run an event with external participants that aren't MTU staff or students, and you want them to register. You can do that with Zoom and you don't have to have a webinar license. And similarly, just in the last couple of months, Zoom Q&A, which you can see there's a Q&A in this, we're in a webinar right now, but now Zoom Q&A is available on all Zoom meetings. So if you combine Zoom Q&A with registration for meetings, you can kind of have these events without having to do a Zoom webinar, which is very handy. I'll also show you about sharing slide control, where maybe you want to get your colleague to go through the slides while you talk through them when you're doing a PowerPoint presentation. And finally, I'll talk about the Zoom Notes tool, which is also a really new Zoom feature where you can take notes during a Zoom meeting and then share them outside of the Zoom meeting, basically. And I will be showing recordings of Zoom just for this, because as we are actually delivering this via Zoom, it's kind of hard to show these things, especially because we're doing this through a webinar and what I'm showing is in a regular Zoom. But I'll show you all the videos, basically. But the first thing I'm going to show is about scheduling with registration, which you actually do through the Zoom website. So I'm just going to pull that over. And you can see here, I have a meeting already set up, but I'll show you how you do it. So if I open meeting with registration, it's just going to take a second to load up. There we are. So I'm just going to click edit. So if you set up a meeting at tl.zoom.us, all you have to do to make it so people have to register is click the required under registration. And then another thing to note is if you are doing an event, say, and you want people that aren't just MTU staff or students to be able to join, then you do need to change this setting from only MTU's Cork staff, students or staff to all authenticated users. And what that means is, well, anyone can join. They do have to have a Zoom account, but it can be a basic account. It could be any kind of Zoom account as long as they have a Zoom account. This is just for security reasons. So yeah, so we've set this up with registration. I'm just going to click save. I can show you what it even looks like. So when you send the link out to people to register, I'm going to copy the link and paste it. And this is what it looks like when you send out the meeting invite, basically. You can change how this looks as well. I'll show you how you do that. So you see at the top there's a registration tab. So you would click on that and then click edit. You can edit some things, like you can set it whether you automatically approve or manually approve people joining the session. So if you want to approve everyone that signs up, then just keep it automatically approve. Or if you want to manually approve for whatever reason, like you only want to let in certain people, then you can set it to that and then you can manually approve them. There's also some other options here, like sending an email to the host. You can close registration after the meeting has happened. You can allow registrants to join from multiple devices. You can restrict number of registrants, things like that. And then if I just show you the questions tab, you can also change what questions are shown. So first name and email address are required because that's what displays when they actually come into the meeting. So they're always required. You can't turn those off. You could also add their address if you needed to, or job title, different things like that. And you can even add your own questions. And there's 2 different question types that you can add for that too. So that could be single choice. So if you want to add a multiple choice question for whatever reason, or short text questions as well. So that's really handy for handling event registration. So I'm just going to cancel that for now. And the next thing I'm going to show is the Q&A tool. So as you can see in this webinar, there's a Q&A, but also in regular Zoom meetings, there is a Q&A too. And basically the Q&A, it's different to the chat in that you can ask questions during a class and they can be answered in 3 different ways, basically. You can answer it privately, where it just goes to that person, the answer. You can answer it for everyone, so you can type in the answer and everyone can see it. Or you can answer it live, verbally. And it's easier to do it that way than in the chat, where there could be lots of stuff to go through rather than just going straight to the Q&A questions. And I am going to go back into the website and show you that you can configure the Q&A ahead of a meeting, or you can do it within the meeting. So I'll show you how you do it ahead of a meeting. So if I click the Q&A tab here, you'll see, and then just click edit. You can turn it off entirely if you want to. So participants can submit questions, but you could turn it off if you want to. You can allow or disallow anonymous questions, and you can allow participants to view all answered questions only or all questions. So if you had all questions on, then everybody would be able to see when someone asks a question. But then answered questions only would be that they will only see the questions on the Q&A tab in Zoom if they've been answered. So that's your choice if you want to do that. You can also set it so that students can upvote questions. So if they can see all questions, they can upvote questions that they also want to hear the answers to, or you could also allow them to comment. So I'll show you how that works. I'm just going to go back into the presentation because I have some recordings of that. 1 second. So this is what the Q&A field looks like, and it looks like that on the webinar too if you click Q&A if you're on Zoom right now. I'll just show you what it looks like from a teacher or a host perspective when they get a question. I'll just play here. You'll see that there's a Q&A question there. I open it and I can choose to answer live or type an answer. So when I click type answer, then I can also choose, because this session was set up, they could leave anonymous questions as well, but I can also send privately the answer as well. But I'm just going to do it publicly. So I just typed in the answer and then click send, and then everybody can see that answer as well. And that's what that looks like. So then if it's answered publicly, all of the people in the meeting can then see on the Q&A tab the answer there. The next thing is answering live. So if you click answer live, it'll come up that you are going to answer the question live. So then you would just answer the question as you would live to everyone. And then when you finish answering it live verbally, click done, and then it'll appear on everybody's Q&A tab as answered. So it says this question has been answered live, basically. And the next thing is if you get a question and you want to dismiss it, and this was an anonymous person because this session was set up where you could ask a question anonymously, but if you want to dismiss a question, then this question says this is boring, when is class over? Just an example. You can hover over the question and then click this little options button here, and you can dismiss the question or delete it. Then I'll just show you if you want to edit the settings of the Q&A tool on the fly, you can do that by clicking this little cog on the top right of the Q&A. And then you can change all of the settings that I showed you on the website. You can change them here as well. So maybe you want to turn anonymous off last minute because you're getting annoying questions or something. You can do that on the fly as well if you want to, and you can change it all there. So that's basically how Q&A works, and it's very handy, especially if you're running some sort of event with external people, especially combined with that registration feature. So then the next thing I'm going to show is sharing slide control. So this is where you might want to get a colleague to click through the slides as you're talking, basically. So to do that, I'll just play the video. And you need to have you have a PowerPoint, basically. You need to have that open on your desktop. And then when you click share in Zoom, click on the PowerPoint itself and not on your screen. So when you do that and then click share, you'll see that there's the slide control option. So click on that. And then once you click on it, you can choose, you can assign a person to have control privileges so they can then control the slides for you, and then they can click through the slides and you don't have to, and then you can just focus on doing the talking as they go through the slides, basically. So that's really handy. The next Zoom feature I'm going to talk about is the notes tool. So this is on regular Zoom meetings. You can take notes. Those can be collaborative, so you can have it so everybody in the Zoom meeting can add to the notes if you want them to, and you can also keep the notes and share them outside of the Zoom meeting. So it's good for minutes and things like that. And I'll just show you how that works. So I'll just click play here. So if you click the Notes tab in your Zoom and then click New, then it makes a new note. And at the moment, this is just your own personal note. You haven't shared it, and you can just make notes during a Zoom meeting. And I'll move on to the next one to show you how to share it. Right, so there's this blue share button here. So if you click that on your note, then you can click share to meeting. And there's a couple of options here. You can have the note be collaborative, or you can have it so that people can view the note but not collaborate on it. So it depends what you need. But for this example, I just share it collaboratively. And then it'll share to meeting. And then you'll see in a second another person appears there in the meeting in this example, and then they can add to the note as well. And you can also stop sharing if you want to by clicking the red button here, the red stop, and that'll stop the share and nobody can add to it anymore. Move on to the next one. If you want to then access the link to the notes outside of Zoom, you can do that by clicking on that blue button again. And you see down here, there's a copy link. So when you copy the link, that's linked to the notes, but not within the actual Zoom call that you're in. And you can see I'm just posting the link to the chat of that Zoom chat session so everyone can go to that link. And when you open the link, you'll see what opens. You see the note here on a web page, so people can access that. And also you'll see when you log into tl.zoom.us, there's a notes tab and you can get to all your notes that you've made there as well. So that's really handy as well. Now, finally, and I know we're at 30 minutes now, but I do have one quick thing to go over for Microsoft apps. So I'm just going to talk about Microsoft To Do, which is something that I find quite handy, which you might not have heard of. So I will get into it now while we have time. So Microsoft To Do, you can access either by going to to/do.office.com and signing in with your staff details, or you can actually access it from Outlook as well. So if you're in your mail, and I don't want to show you my mail, sorry, but in your Outlook Office mails, you can access it from there with this little tick button there. But I'll just show it to you from here. But basically, it's a daily task planner, you know, a to-do list for every day. And for today, I'm just showing you an example. I've written a list of things. So these ones I've just added in myself. You can also add in due dates, remind me things, and repeated things. Also, if you've ever used Microsoft Planner, it can be linked with that. And I don't really have time to go over that today, but if you ever use Planner, repeated things can also appear on here, and things come, if you click suggestions, it'll also suggest emails you've gotten that you can add to your to-do list. And another thing you can do, and I will show you this, if I can open my emails. just here. I just have this training thing here. If you flag an email, so if you go here and you flag it, so if you flag an email, it'll add to your to-do list. So once I flagged it and go here, you can see that it's under flagged emails. And also if I go to flagged emails, so it just says do the training project finish up. So if you ever get an email from someone asking you for something or asking for updates on something and you don't have time to get to it at that moment, you can add it to your to-do list just by flagging that email as it needs to be done, and then it'll come up on your day as the to-do list item, basically. So that's really handy, and it's something that I think even I need to use a bit more because it's definitely useful. I'll just go back into the training again. Yeah, so I think that's all the hacks, and I do appreciate that I have gone through this really fast, but I will be sending help articles for everything that was mentioned today, and also our help guides you can access at tlhelp.eu.helps.com, or you can just access it through our website, which is tl.cit.ie. You can also email us at edtech@mtu.ie with any questions. There's also the Canvas Learn staff training on Canvas itself. And you can also access training, or not training, you can go to get help from Canvas 24/7, basically by clicking the help icon on Canvas. So that's helpful as well.